Welcome back, boys and girls. We've made it to week 7, day 5. Today's lesson is from lesson 7, Recounting Stories. Our day 5 standard is RL2, which states, identify key events in a story, understand the proper sequence of events when retelling a story, and recount a story by telling only the most important details from the beginning, middle, and end. Our learning target for today states, retell or recount stories from around the world by retelling key events in the order in which they happened. Our academic talk words are recount, setting, sequence, events, and character. When you recount a story, you are retelling the story in your own words. Be sure that you include key details and events that happened in the beginning, middle, and end. Tell the events in the sequence or order in which they happened. Remember, recounting a story means retelling the story in your own words in sequence, beginning, middle, and end. Today, you're going to read a story that's a folk tale, and we're going to use what we've learned to recount this story. You're going to read the folk tale independently and use what you've learned to think about and write about this text. As you read, remember to look closely at the text to identify the key details about the setting, the characters, and most important events in the story. Before we begin, we have a sidebar, which includes words to know. In the sidebar, it reads, as you read, look inside, around, and beyond these words to figure out what they mean. The words are fuss and disbelief. And now let's get started with a folktale from Burma. True or false? There once were 3 poor brothers who loved to tell tall tales. They traveled throughout the countryside telling wild stories. They always claimed that their tales were true, but no one ever believed them. One day, the 3 brothers met a rich traveler. The man was dressed in fine clothes and wore shining jewels. The brothers wanted his things. Let's ask him to play a game. Each of the 4 of us will tell a tall tale of a past adventure. The rule is that if anyone knows the truth of another's story, he must become that person's servant. The man will never believe our stories. Getting him to doubt our stories will be like rolling off a log. He will have to become our servant. The others liked this plan. They did not want a servant, but they wanted the man's fine things. The man agreed to the game. The first brother told a story of how he had climbed a tree and could not get down. So he ran to a nearby cottage and borrowed a rope. The second brother told of jumping into the stomach of a tiger who wanted to eat him. I made such a fuss that the tiger spit me out, he said. The third told of helping the village fisherman. He said he turned into a fish and jumped into the river. There, he turned back into a man and killed the big fish that were eating all the little fish. The rich man listened to the 3 tales without saying one word of disbelief. Then he told his story. He said he was searching for 3 servants who had run away from him. You 3 must be the ones I am looking for, he said. The brothers looked at him with alarm. If they doubted him, they must become his servants. That was their rule. But if they said his story was true, they would have to become his servants too. They said nothing. Finally, the man said he would let them go if they promised never to tell tall tales again. The brothers agreed, and they kept their promise. Boys and girls, that was a pretty good story. And this story has a theme. Remember, a theme is a life lesson. So discuss with someone in your home or a friend to figure out the theme for this story. And now let's look at our questions. Use what you learned from reading the selection to respond to these questions. Remember, we're recounting the story. We know that the characters are three brothers and the man in fine clothing. We know the setting is that they were walking outside. We know that in the beginning of the story, the boys decided to come up with a story, and if they could get the man to doubt it, then they would win. We know that in the middle of the story, they all told their stories. But by the end of the story, something happened where there was a life lesson. So let's see if that retell will give us some insight on the answer to these questions. Number 1, number the items to show the order of some of the events in the story. Let's look at our choices. Each brother told his make-believe story. 3 brothers talked a rich traveler into playing a game. The rich man made them promise not to tell tall tales. The rich man told them a story. The rich man did not question the brothers' story. The brothers realized they were trapped. What was the first thing that happened, boys and girls? Yes, 3 brothers talked a rich traveler into playing a game. The second thing that happened? Yes, each brother told his make-believe story. And the third thing? The rich man did not question the brother's story. Next, the rich man told them a story. Good job. What was the fifth thing to happen? You're right, the brothers realized they were trapped. And the last thing, the rich man made them promise not to tell tall tales. Good job putting the story in order by recounting the events. Let's look at number 2. This question has 2 parts. First, answer part A, then answer part B. Part A. Why did the 3 brothers want to play a game with the traveler? A. They wanted to see if he would believe their tall tales. B. They wanted to trick him so they could have what he owned. C. They disliked people who had more money than they did. D. They were once the rich traveler's servants. Boys and girls, if you go back in the story, you will be able to find that answer. You may pause this video to go back to the story. Okay, if you chose answer B, you are correct. They wanted to trick him so they could have what he owned. And now, part B. Write a sentence from paragraph 2 that supports the answer you chose for part A. Part B requires that you go to paragraph 2. So boys and girls, go to paragraph 2 to find a sentence that goes with what we chose in part A, which is they wanted to trick him so they could have what he owned. After you have done part B, you may continue. Let's look at number 3. Which is the best recounting or retelling of the third brother's story? You may have to look back at the story to see what the third brother talked about. Was it A, he plays a trick on the fisherman. He pretends to be a big fish, catching all the small ones. B, he gets away from the fisherman by swimming in the river like a fish. C, he helps the fisherman. He turns himself into a fish and then back into a person to kill a big fish. Or D, he becomes a fish so that he can help the fishermen chase fish into their nets. If you go back and read the paragraph about the third brother, you will find that the answer is, that's right, C. Let's look at number 4. Which is the best description of a brother's problem at the end of the folktale? Now, boys and girls, we're looking at the end of the folktale. What is the problem that the brothers have at the end of the folktale? A, the brothers think the rich man's story is the best of all the stories they have heard. B, the rich man believes that the brothers are runaway servants he is looking for. C, the brothers promise never to tell tall tales again, as they know they should not be doing that. Or D, no matter how the brothers answer the rich man, they will have to become his servants. Which one of these is a problem? You guessed it, D, because it describes why the brothers can't win the contest. Good job, third graders. Let's look at number 5. Which 2 details could you leave out when recounting this story? Boys and girls, that means there are 2 things here that we really don't even need. What could we leave out? A, the brothers tell tales throughout the countryside. B, the brothers ask a rich traveler to play a game. C, a tiger spit one brother out after eating him. D, the rich man said nothing about the brothers' stories. E, the rich man told a story about missing servants. F, the brothers agreed not to tell any more tall tales. Which 2 things can we leave out? If you chose A and C, you are correct, because neither of those things are important to the main point of the story. Number 6. Reread these sentences from paragraph 2. The man will never believe our stories. Getting him to doubt our stories will be like rolling off a log. What does the word doubt mean in this context? A, dislike. B, understand. C, mistrust. Or D, enjoy. The man will never believe our stories. Getting him to doubt our stories will be like rolling off a log. If you chose mistrust, you are correct. Letter C. A key clue is the phrase, never believe. Good job, boys and girls. Let's keep moving on. So let's review. When you recount a story, you are retelling the story in your own words. Be sure that you include the key details and events that happened in the beginning, middle, and end. Tell the events in the sequence or order in which they happened. Remember, recounting a story is retelling the story in your own words, in sequence, beginning, middle, end. All right, boys and girls, we are at the end of lesson 7 of week 7 of day 5. We have a short response here to discuss. Use your own words to recount the folktale. Be sure to write about the events in the sequence that they happened in the story. You may discuss that with someone in your home, and then click on the exit ticket link under this video.